For about 4 centuries, from Copernicus to Freud, passing by Galileo and Darwin, scientific discoveries accumulated spectacularly, suggesting that it was possible to explain the universe without resorting to a God-creator. This is how materialism triumphed at the beginning of the 20th century. But from then on, the pendulum of science unexpectedly began to swing in the opposite direction with the theories of relativity, quantum physics, the expansion of the universe, and fine-tuning. Today, it can be said to the more enlightened minds that materialism is about to become a belief contrary to reason. In 1964, the Big Bang hypothesis was confirmed and validated. In 1998, it was proven that the universe is expanding. The conclusions of these Nobel Prize-winning scientists show how 2 ideas generated by thermodynamics. Yes, the universe has a beginning, and yes, this beginning corresponds to a very low entropy, that is, to a very high order, to very fine-tuning. These ideas have not yet been challenged. But once this fundamental stage was overcome, the great scientific minds remained speechless before the conclusion that can be drawn from this assumption, a conclusion that is not exactly scientific but can be considered rational. If the universe has a beginning in time, then it must be because there is a cause that precedes it. When we sit down in the morning to have breakfast and read the newspaper or watch the news on our cell phones, there is no shortage of bad news. Global warming, the disappearing ozone layer, bees decimated by herbicides that point to the end of the plant world, etc. Isn't it amazing that we need a specific nitrogen layer and a specific temperature to exist, and that a slightly lower nitrogen level makes life impossible, and a higher one causes everything to burn down at the slightest spark? Other important parameters to the correct function of the universe are magnetic field, perfect tilt of the rotation axis. What are these tight, perfect adjustments? Isn't it reasonable to think that someone must be in control of all this? It's safe to say that the universe undoubtedly has millions of planets, so ours might have turned out well by chance. But this is where the principle of fine-tuning comes in. What are the main fixed numbers, invariable in time and space, that keep the universe from collapsing? Force of gravity, electromagnetic force, strong iteration, weak iteration, speed of light, Planck's constant, Boltzmann's constant, speed of expansion of the universe, etc., etc., etc. All of them are pillars of the universe and determinants of its existence. The question you want to ask me, what would the universe have been like if they had been slightly different by just 10%, or even just 1%, or even a distant decimal? Chaos. The universe would be reduced to chaos, and this is what fine-tuning consists of. But let's not just rely on the evidence of cosmology. Biology at the end of the 20th century highlighted the impossibility of bridging the enormous chasm between the most sophisticated inert being and the simplest living being. It is impossible to bridge this chasm by the simple laws of chance. We don't know how it happened, and we haven't yet been able to replicate such an event. However, we know enough to assess its infinite improbability. Between 1950 and 1970, multiple prebiotic soups were created to transition from inert to living. The best known is that of Stanley Miller in 1953, but all resulted in pieces of protein only. It has not been possible to confirm that it was an intermediate stage between the most complex inert organism and the least complex living being we know. In 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick demonstrated the double helix structure of DNA, revealing the existence of a unique code for all living beings. Individuals of the same species are very similar genetically, sharing most of their DNA. These small differences, about 0.1% in the case of humans, are responsible for each individual's unique characteristics, such as hair color, taste, and susceptibility to disease. The genetic message inscribed in DNA is coded information that contains all the phenotypic and physiological information of our cells. It's truly a message because it contains, as it were, an intelligent text that provides instructions in sequences we call genes. DNA is the most complex set of information known in the universe. To write the information contained in a cell nucleus measuring 0.006 of a millimeter would require 1,000,000 pages. Many scientists have published astonishing statements, such as Sir Francis Crick, a non-believer and winner of the 1962 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the discovery of DNA.
A structure like DNA cannot have appeared by chance.
Christian de Duve, Nobel Prize winner in physiology in 1974, stated,
Les probabilités qu'ils apparaissent par pur hasard sont si élevées qu'on ne peut les qualifier que de miracles.
Thus, for 3 centuries, from Galileo to Freud, via Darwin and Marx, a vast body of knowledge seemed to shake the multitude of believers in God. But they had no reason to do so, because the true discoveries, instead of dispelling the idea of a creator, actually helped to shape it. This did not in any way contradict their faith, but they lacked the necessary knowledge to recognize this. Materialism was based on the fact that science seemed to push religion back because of the material opulence generated by improved living conditions, as the West managed to eradicate hunger and epidemics, cured most diseases, increased life expectancy, eliminated infant mortality, and provided humanity with unprecedented material goods. Thus, humanity no longer needed God to solve its problems. This view has given believers an inferiority complex regarding rationalism. When science comes to prove that materialism is a belief like any other, we see that we are at the dawn of an intellectual revolution that in some cases can, and in my opinion should, lead us to accept a God who is creator, sustainer, and savior, but that will be the subject of a future video. Please stay tuned, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching.